Hello, beautiful, and welcome to the Moms Talk Sex podcast with me, Marie Yellington, your host. I am so excited for this conversation today because I have the beautiful Gina here with me. Hi, Gina.
Hello, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, you guys. This conversation is one you're not going to want to miss out on. It's going to be juicy, intimate, and really eye-opening. So let's dive right in. Gina, how about you share a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do in the world?
So my name is Gina Marie. I live in Pittsburgh. I'm a mom of four, although my babies are a little bit older now. They range from 17 to 26. I have a business doing emotional empowerment work and also kind of non-traditional meditation therapy in a modality that I created called the Colorful Clearing Method. And all of that came about after a very kind of long history of processing so many different traumas in my life, from childhood sexual abuse to a marriage that didn't have intimacy in it for about 9 years, the last nine, to divorce and then re-entering the dating world over 40. So it kind of really changed my whole trajectory and path. I'm a hairstylist by trade. I've done hair for about 30 years, owned a bunch of salons, and really have made a drastic shift in the last few years after realizing, how far I have been able to come in my journey with that, kind of self-love and learning to fall in love with yourself through some very difficult experiences. I now want to help others do that. So this is kind of the last year my life has taken a big turn, and that's why we're talking today. So I'm excited to be here.
I loved it so much. So maybe you can give us a little bit insight. When was that you were saying you were in a marriage of 9 years, no intimacy? When did that wake up call come? I feel like a lot of
Okay.
people after they have
Uh,
kids and they just are comfortable even though they're uncomfortable and they just stay and they choose not to leave ship even though they're unhappy. So it was for you that like, okay, I'm done with this.
um, so the marriage was 20 years total, and the last nine is when intimacy stopped. And I think you described it so accurately. This happens so much more than you know. And the more I talk about it to people, the more I'm like, I had 6 years. I'm going on 6 years with no intimacy. I'm going on. And we are truly beings that crave love and attention. And it becomes so easy for a woman to put that on the back burner and say, you know what, as long as I give love to everybody else, I'll be okay without it. And so that's what I did for a lot of years. I poured myself into my babies, into my family. And I will tell you, do you want to know the turning point for me? And this is crazy. I was attending a Tony Robbins UPW during COVID, and I watched him and his wife, Sage, talk about their relationship. And I had this aha moment of thinking, not only do I know I deserve to have what they have, but I also knew in my own life, my brother and wife had that same love that I saw being modeled, and that feeling when you're around a couple that exudes love. And I just knew that I didn't have the time to waste anymore. And I had to make a decision, and I knew that decision was going to be hard. I knew I was going to have to walk through some fire first. But I just thought to myself, I have wasted 9 years. I slept on a recliner in my living room. I got three recliners for that time. They wear out. But you have to make that decision of saying, you know what, we only get a, you know, certain period of time here. And I wasn't willing to let any more go by without experiencing what I know is what we're meant to experience in our lifetime. So that was kind of my wake up call, seeing and modeling, seeing that modeled of what true, I believe, intimacy and love is supposed to look like between two people.
So what do you think caused that 9 year freeze. Like, why do you think it's so easy for, I don't know if it was coming from your end. Like, I have some clients that's actually coming from the male. Like, they're too stressed out, they don't want to have sex. And so I'm really curious for you, like, what do you think that is that creates that cutting off intimacy? It's like the first thing we cut off. I don't know.
So for me, I look back because I had to do a lot of reflection, obviously. I don't think any one person can say they're the contributing factor when intimacy stops in a marriage. I believe both parties absolutely play a role in that. It becomes, a- I think it almost sometimes becomes this leveraging thing in a marriage where it's transactional and it's viewed as, well, we should be having sex once a week, and the man says, okay, if it's less than that, then something's wrong or whatever. And then what I don't think a lot of couples probably take the time to get into is to really understanding how the actions of each other are affecting each other. And what I mean by that is, for a lot of years in my marriage, I had someone that would walk in the door and look for things to get on me about, whether it's like household being clean or not, living up to a certain standard. And what that was doing to me emotionally was constantly putting me in a place where I felt never good enough. And it is very hard to show extra love and affection to somebody that you don't feel is valuing you or seeing your worth or appreciating what you do. So then it becomes almost a, I'm going to withhold in order to get back. And then we're stuck in this horrible loop of disconnection. Each person's not getting their needs met. And it just slowly but surely evolves into this place of weird, untalked about discomfort on both by both parties. But both parties are also tend to find this weird place where it just doesn't get talked about. And then you find a new normal and a new way of living without it, and without going too deep into anybody's hurt or pain, and you're just coexisting, and you're
Yeah.
taking care of the family and you're still raising the kids, but you are missing such a massive piece of joy and happiness and love, and it just becomes this autopilot new norm that we live. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I love that you say that. When I grew up, my parents got divorced, and I remember when I got married with my husband, I told him we're not becoming that couple. I don't care what it takes. I don't care what we do. I don't care what classes we take. We're not going to become, I'm not going to marry you to get divorced. Like, that's not my goal. If you're my person and you're my soulmate, we're going to do whatever it takes. And it takes work. It takes so much work to make a marriage work, and to not just work, but to also let it fill your cup in ways that maybe you don't allow yourself to feel. And so I love that you were actually able to step outside of that and choose yourself, and kind of open a whole new world of, like you said, dating after being with somebody for 20 years, after giving birth, and after not having sex for so long. So what was that about? How was that?
That I'm telling you, that was probably some of the, scariest moments that I had to navigate emotionally. And even it was just, yeah, it was a big change as to, oh my goodness, here I am going into this. When you go through childbirth with a man and your husband, they see your body change throughout these seasons of your life. And I do have to say now, even though, I said he looked for things to get on me about and things like that, I actually have an amazing relationship with my ex. And I can tell you, he never made me feel bad about my body, not once. I always knew he was attracted to me physically, no matter what stage, no matter how big. And I'm Italian. I kid you not, I've topped out at 225 and I'm 5'4". So all I am telling you is I have been up and down the scale. My body has changed in every way, shape, or form that it is able to. But finding that love for yourself, even at those higher, wherever your body is at the moment, finding that love for yourself is so crucial in all of this. But I can say he never made me feel like that. So as I approached into the dating world, I started going with, oh, I have to date a dad. I'm going to have to date a dad because if I don't date a dad, then they don't know what it's like. And so I got that in my head. And then I ended up reconnecting with a guy that I went to high school with. And he wasn't a dad, but I felt a really good connection. And that was my first experience with being intimate with somebody after, all those years. And, you know, I can say it wasn't probably, it was an okay experience. It
I love
wasn't
it.
like out of this
I
world, right? I was re-entering because you have to realize this is so psychological for us, right?
know.
We as women get in our heads,
So
and oh my goodness, to enjoy intimacy and to enjoy sex, you have got to get out of your head and into your body and really being present. I almost eventually realized that I needed to create almost like a ritual for myself. And I had to kind of disconnect from life for 20 to 30 minutes, get a bath, do some breath work, and really to be able to discover how to enjoy it again. So that didn't happen with this man, but it did end up happening. With another man down the road who I can say we are no longer together. That was also, was a very hard breakup, but I will say the greatest gift that I got from that relationship was truly seeing and feeling from someone what I feel absolute unconditional true love as to acceptance of your body how it is. And I had lost one of my brothers. I've lost three in the past 4 years. And my after my second brother died, I gained to 75 pounds. I mean, I just, even with all my emotional tools, I was dealing with some guilt and grief. That's when I put up, well, I was with this man at this time. So he also saw my weight go up. And I can say throughout everything, I still felt beautiful. And so I believe it is our absolute, um, you know, our biggest job is to make sure that we try to find someone who makes us feel like that and we don't settle for anything less than that. And if you aren't getting that from somebody, I'm here to tell you that there are men, women, whatever partner you want out there that will make you feel like that. So that's the biggest lesson that I took. And so I feel like I've gotten this full spectrum kind of experience from start to finish with all of that.
So how do you stay so positive and loving your body even after 40, after four children, and then being naked again with somebody that hasn't seen your body change? Like, how do you find that in yourself?
So it's really funny the evolution that took place during this relationship. And one of the things I found about halfway through this, last relationship was a beautiful woman shared with me. And I call them mirror mantras. I don't know if that's a thing or not. It's when we say specific mantras, but we look our own soul into the eyes in the mirror. And one of the things that I believe helped the most was saying, I love you for all the changes you've been through. I love the woman you have become. And I started to say that morning, noon, and night. If I was brushing my teeth, I still say it. If I'm walking past the mirror, I look in my eyes. I love you for all the changes you've been through. I love the woman you've become. And I can't tell you how transformational that was for me. I believe it was an integral part of my healing. And I was doing that while I was with this man. And in the beginning, I would cover up as I would walk to the bathroom, or, I was, covering the skin on my stomach. And I'm going to tell you, my biggest baby was 10 pounds, 3 ounces, and I'm 5'4". So there is more skin on this stomach. I can't even. And so that's where, we're so into, we get so in our heads about it. By the end of that relationship, I was walking freely across the room, feeling so confident in my skin. But, another thing happened during that relationship, and I don't know if it was just an awareness and a gratitude, but I started to look at the skin on my stomach, and I started to say to myself when I would look in a full length mirror if I was naked, and I would look at that skin and I would say, there are millions of women that would die to have that skin because they would love to have a baby. And I needed to start being grateful for that skin. And boy, did that change me. I mean, all the way down to a cellular level, I started viewing my body as the miracle that it is, right? That we bring these beautiful souls into this lifetime and what it actually takes to do that. And it truly, truly, I think is the piece that kind of helped pull all of it together where I don't know, who will be put in my path next, but I can say I'm a totally different person now as far as being, confident in myself and loving my body now at this stage in my life.
I love that so much, and that is so powerful what you said. I love that. I hope you guys listening can really tune into the energy of that because sometimes affirmations may seem just like words that you're saying, and if you're not connecting to them emotionally, you might not have that energy with it. But you can tell from what Gina was just saying, that energy is so there. And I'm sure that in the beginning, it took a while until you probably felt like that is actually who you are, but you're so embodying it right now, which is so incredible. I can feel it from you. So if our listeners want to find more about you and where you are in the world, how can they reach you?
So on Facebook, it's Colorful Living with Gina Marie. TikTok, it is colorful, or yeah, Colorful Living with Gina. And then YouTube, I have a podcast as well, Turn on the Color, and that is on YouTube as I believe just Colorful Living, or Turn on the Color podcast. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I truly honor you and appreciate you and your transformation. I think it's so honorable for anybody listening that's in your situation or feeling a little bit disconnected from their body. I would say play with this. I think it will really shift a lot for you.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
Thank you guys for listening. Tune in again next week, and I hope you have tons of amazing sex. Back to you next week. Bye.